Any qualified questions, special needs, or absentee ballots received prior to meeting time and postmarked on or before October 4th, 2016 will be open and counted.
We had one question ballot that was actually registered in time for the election, so why this person wasn't on our register, I don't know, but we're going to count the ballot.
All right.
I don't know.
All right. So just read off the vote.
Yes, please.
One for Mark Jensen for mayor.
Thank you.
Kurt Walhuter for assembly.
Okay,
Sandra Stevens for school board.
all right,
Darlene Whitethorn for hospital board.
all right,
Otis Marsh for planning commission. Tor Benson for planning commission. Glenn Reed for harbor and ports advisory board. Alec McMurrin for library advisory board. Jared Cook for public safety advisory board. And on the back, for the ballot proposition, they voted no.
thank you. And I probably don't need to say this, but I probably should just in case, just make sure the circles are filled out for everything that for every ballot that you look at, because I'm not looking at them.
No hanging chads.
No hanging chads.
Thank you. Okay,
Chads are not hanging, flipping,
No hanging,
jumping.
no chads.
so now what we are opening is actually the City of Kupernoff absentee ballots that we sent over, so they did not have to cross the water on Election Day. They were able to vote our election and theirs. Oops.
All righty. Another vote for Mark Jensen. A vote each for Jay Stanton Greger and Kurt Walhuter. A vote for Sandra Stevens. A vote for Hospital Board Darlene Whitethorn. A vote each for Otis Marsh and Yancey Nilsson for Planning Commission. A vote for Tor Benson for Planning Commission. A vote for Bobby Dolan and Glenn Reed for Harbor and Ports Advisory Board. A vote for Barb Fish and Alec McMurrin for Library Advisory Board. A vote for Jared Cook and Devin Bennett for Public Safety Advisory Board. And on the proposition, a vote yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I've never done this before. It's kind of exciting. All righty. A vote for Mark Jensen for mayor. A vote for Kurt Walhuter for assembly. A vote for Darlene Whitethorn for hospital board. A vote each for Otis Marsh and for Yancey Nilsson for planning commission. A vote for Tor Benson for planning commission. A vote for Bobby Dolan for harbor and ports advisory board. A vote for Barb Fish for library advisory board. A vote for Jared Cook for public safety advisory board. And on the proposition, a vote yes. Thank you very much. A vote for Mark Jensen. I'll take this off. For mayor, a vote for Mark Martinson and for Jay Stanton Greger for assembly. A vote for Mara Latomsky for school board. a vote for Darlene Whitethorn for Hospital Board, a vote each for Otis Marsh and for Yancey Nilsson for Planning Commission, a vote for Tor Benson for Planning Commission, a vote for Glenn Reed for Harbor and Ports Advisory Board, a vote for Barb Fish for Library Advisory Board, a vote for Jared Cook and for Devin Bennett for Public Safety Advisory Board, and on the proposition, a vote no. And we have a vote for Mark Jensen for mayor, and for Mark Martinson, and for Jay Stanton Greger for assembly. A vote for Darlene Whitethorn for hospital board. A vote for Otis Marsh and for Yancey Nielsen for planning commission. A vote for Tor Benson for planning commission. A vote each for Bobby Dolan and for Glenn Reed for Harbor and Ports Advisory Board. A vote each for Barb Fish and Alec McMurrin for Library Advisory Board. A vote each for Jared Cook and for Devin Bennett for Public Safety Advisory Board. And on the ballot proposition, a vote no. I know, I'm rumbly today.
Come on, you darn thing, open up.
That one's going to fight you.
Some enthusiastic voting here. A vote for Mark Jensen for mayor. A vote for Jay Stanton Greger and for Kurt Walhuter for assembly. A vote for Sandra Stevens for school board. A vote for Darlene Whitethorn for hospital board. A vote each for Otis Marsh and for Yancey Nilsson for planning commission. A vote for Tor Benson for planning commission. A vote for Bobby Dolan and for Glenn Reed, each for Harbor and Ports Advisory Board. A vote for Barb Fish and a vote for Alec McMurrin for Library Advisory Board. A vote for Jared Cook and for Devin Bennett, each for Public Safety Advisory Board. And on the proposition, a vote no. We're getting this down.
Yes.
All righty. A vote yes for Mark Jensen for mayor. A vote for Mark Martinson and for Kurt Walhuter for assembly. A write-in vote for Mara Latomsky for school board. A vote for Darlene Whitethorn for hospital board. A vote for Otis Marsh and for Yancey Nilsson for planning commission. A vote for Bobby Dolan and a vote for Glenn Reed for Harbor and Ports Advisory Board. A vote for Barb Fish and a vote for Alec McMurrin for Library Advisory Board. A vote for Jared Cook and for Devin Bennett for Public Safety Advisory Board. And on the proposition, a vote yes. So do these get sent separately? Because I saw the box of election supplies at the post office the other day. Is that something separate?
Election supplies, oh,
The big
that's,
metal box?
that is the AccuVote machine that counts all the ballots.
Ah. It looked very secure.
Yes, good. It's an important piece of machinery.
A vote for Mark Jensen for mayor. A vote for Jay Stanton Greger and for Kurt Walhuter for assembly. A vote for Sandra Stevens for school board. A vote for Darlene Whitethorn for hospital board. A vote for Otis Marsh and for Yancey Nielsen for planning commission. A vote for Tor Benson for planning commission. A vote for Bobby Dolan and for Glenn Reed for Harbor and Ports Advisory Board. A vote for Barb Fish and for Alec McMurrin for Library Advisory Board. A vote for Jared Cook and for Devin Bennett for Public Safety Advisory Board. And on the proposition, a vote yes.
One more.
For some reason I did this funky. All righty. And we have a vote for Mark Jensen for mayor, a vote for Jay Stanton Greger and for Kurt Walhuter for assembly, a vote for Sandra Stevens for school board, a write-in vote for Judy Reinhardt.
Doesn't count.
Okay. Hospital board, a vote for Darlene Whitethorn. A vote for Otis Marsh, and a vote for Yancey Nielsen for Planning Commission. A vote for Tor Benson. A vote each for Bobby Dolan and for Glenn Reed. Glenn Reed Jr., I should have been saying, for Harbor and Ports Advisory Board. A vote for Barb Fish and for Alec McMurrin for Library Advisory Board. A vote for Jared Cook and for Devin Bennett for Public Safety Advisory Board. And on the ballot proposition, a vote yes.
Debbie, can you clarify for people at home why that write-in vote doesn't count, just in case they're curious?
Certainly, write-ins must file to be a write-in prior to the election, and Judy Reinhardt's did not file.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yes.
And the write-in, and you don't just write the name in, you have to color in the circle too, or it doesn't count.
Correct, that's correct. But it didn't matter.
Oh, yeah,
because-
that's interesting. I didn't know that, so that's good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and it has to be spelled correctly and everything. It's really... Okay, so to give me a minute to add things up here.
Adventures in Democracy.
Right.
You could write anybody's name in, but if you don't mark the circle, you're not voting for them.
That's true. But, well, it sounds like there's a couple hurdles that you have
Just
to...
writing the name in doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. In terms of water's rough?
No, I said the frog is much worse today in the Narrows than it was
Yeah,
yesterday,
yeah.
having run in.
We went down to, yesterday to the, actually up to the airport to hear the cargo discussion with Alaska Airlines, and it was too foggy for Alaska Airlines to fly in and be able to give the presentation.
Dang it.
I know.
You were on the plane, huh? Okay, so everyone correct me if you have different numbers than me to make sure we're all on the same page here. So it looks like to me for totals for Mark Jensen as mayor, a total vote count of 964. For Assembly, Mark Martinson, a total vote count of 450. J. Stanton Greger, a total vote count of 674. Kurt Wohlhuter, a total vote count of 734. For School Board, Sandra Stevens, a total vote count of 593. For Mara Lutomsky, a total vote count of 537. For Hospital Board, Darlene Whitethorn, a total vote count of 970. For Planning Commission, Otis Marsh, a total vote count of 802. Yancey Nilsson, a total vote count of 911. Tor Benson, a total vote count of 861. For Harbors and Ports Advisory Board, Bobby Dolan, a total vote count of 783. Glenn Reed Jr., a total vote count of 921. Library Advisory Board, Barb Fish, a total vote count of 783. Alec McMurrin, a total vote count of 867. Public Safety Advisory Board, Jared Cook, a total vote count of 822. Devin Bennett, a total vote count of 851. And on Proposition 1, to prohibit marijuana establishments, total vote count on the yeses is 419. Total vote count on the noes is 705.
I had... No, I have a discrepancy on J. Stanton Greger. I think I got 672.
Mindy, how many votes did you tally for Jay?
For today, 6.
6. So
I
six.
missed a couple there.
Okay, okay. Anybody else? Okay, cool, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm just going to leave this mess here and clean it up later.
All right. A motion to accept and approve the certificate of election as updated at this meeting is required to certify the election results. Upon certification of the election, the elected candidates will begin their terms of office. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Second.
It's been moved by Nancy Strand and seconded by just about everyone else that we certify this election. Will the clerk call the roll?
Eric,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes, and the election has been certified unanimously. Moving on to the Board of Adjustment executive session, we need a motion to move into executive session.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Nancy Strand, seconded by Member Wohlhuter, that we move into executive session to receive legal advice regarding the pending appeal of the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision on a conditional use permit for 710 South Nordic Drive. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Bob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes. And so we will move into executive session, so.
Yeah, let's do that.
We are now at the Board of Adjustment decision on the appeal. The process that we are following is that we are not on a fact-finding mission at this point. We have 4 criteria by which to grant the appeal. The criteria are: 1, the appellant establishes there was an error in the application of pertinent law. Number 2, the appellant establishes the decision is not supported by adequate written findings, or the findings fail to inform on the basis upon which the decision appealed from was made. 3, the appellant establishes the building official or Planning Commission failed to follow procedures, or 4, the appellant establishes there was a misrepresentation of fact. Do I have a motion on the appeal so that we can discuss?
I'll move that we grant the appeal.
Based on?
Oh,
Sorry.
Based on, I think it was criteria 1.
And that is, the appellant establishes there was an error in the application of pertinent law. Is there a second?
Second.
J. Stanton Gregor seconds that motion. Is there any discussion? Yes, Nancy.
I don't see where the planning and zoning erred in any way. I won't be able to support this.
Yes, Jay.
Sorry, bear with me for a second here. The way, according to,
Pardon?
can I share that on the record?
Is this from the attorney?
Yes.
Just a moment.
I should ask Debbie, am I allowed to share something highlighted from that on the record right now that we're out of executive session? Sure, I'd ask before I open my mouth.
If that's your rationale, then that's,
Yes, I would say, in your own words, so maybe not quote, but yes. I mean, if this is the reason that you feel, whatever it is you feel, yes.
I feel criteria 1 is applicable, given the commission misapplied the compatibility criteria by limiting its focus to the stated industrial uses of the district set out in chapter 19.44. Not considering the authorized residential conditional uses.
is there anyone else?
I can also see where the Planning Commission came out on this issue. When we read, though, our own ordinances on that issue, they're really, I don't believe they're all that clear. However, I do agree there's another option I think we have before us, and that would be to grant it with life tenure only. Somebody here, I believe, at our last session said 5 years, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense if you were to grant it 5 years, because once you've built it and put it there, I mean, you've put that expense into it. If you did life tenure, saying that if the individual ever transferred it, then that would no longer be applicable. That's another way to approach it. I'm not advocating one way or another at this point, but that's another way to approach it.
Any thoughts, Kurt?
Yeah, I guess I can admit that I was the one that suggested that 5 years, and it was only just a number that I grabbed off the top of my head so that maybe we could maybe tighten up a little bit on what it is the requirements are for building on the waterfront in industrial use areas. Because right now, just every time I look at the comprehensive plan for the waterfront is a guideline. And I think what we need is a little more specific criteria, because I really do believe that we do have a lot of we don't have a lot of industrial area that, people can put up, boat sheds and store gear and all that stuff. But on the other hand, we weren't specifically clear. I think I know what our intent was, but in writing, as she has stated in this brief, it could go either way in a court of law. So, and it's not that I'm in favor one way or the other. I mean, I'd like to see it all go to industrial. The intent was for gear storage, for other businesses to grow, in the way of the fishing industry. But on the other hand, I really think if Bill decided to push this, I think it could add up to some expenses for us. And I like the idea of maybe what Bob has suggested is maybe go out to 10 years or something like that, and then when he sells, then it dies, as long as we have some very specific criteria in mind for what we're going to do with our industrial waterfront.
So here's my thought, and I'm going to speak at length because I spent quite a bit of time last night poring over this. I looked at the waterfront master plan and our comprehensive plan, and in 19.44.010, it says the purpose of the industrial district is, and I'm paraphrasing, intended that that land in that zone be reserved for primarily industrial process. And the waterfront master plan specifically talks about managing the waterfront to minimize conflicts between users. And when I looked at the definition of a warehouse, it refers to storage related to commercial enterprises. However, in all of these documents, I don't see a lot of discussion about what that warehouse is actually intended to do. In looking over our process, what we should have considered and not considered, and I could have asked Sarah the question, but I believe from the direction that we were given that we were not on a fact-finding mission, we weren't to consider new information. The letters that Bill presented actually should not have been admissible because they were opinion and they were not fact and they weren't part of the original record. So although the neighbors were not terribly concerned that he might establish a B&B there, that's really not a part of the record that we should even have been considering in looking at this proposal. The one record that was included in the original record was Olivia Olson's. And Olivia talked about wanting to potentially do the same thing in future years as her rationale for allowing Bill to do the same thing. The comprehensive plan speaks to not setting precedent by granting a conditional use. So there's a letter that says, he's establishing a precedent, I might want to do the same thing. We're setting up a conflict, whether we intended to do that or not. The other thing that I see in looking at this process is that, and I agree that the staff should have not sent the letter to his Petersburg address, and so there was a time lag by which he learned that his conditional use permit wasn't approved, but then we erred on the side of caution and gave him additional time. At every stage, I find that Borough staff was trying to be accommodating in letting him know about the conditional use permit, about giving him time to file his appeal, and even in the plans and things that have gone on, I think we've been fairly flexible about this. When I look at the site plan that Bill provided, it's not really very clear, but if you look at it carefully, it looks like there are 3 dwellings, not 2. And there is reference in the notes to a duplex upstairs. A duplex is 2 units, plus the caretaker unit, in the waterfront at the front. So this keeps expanding. It's not really clear what he is planning to do in the interior of that building. But the other point that I wanted to make is the process by which you make an appeal is that the appellant has the burden of proof to show that the Planning Commission erred in their decision for whatever reason. And as has been stated by the borough attorney and everybody that's looked at this, including our planning staff, he doesn't clearly say what criteria he's challenging the conditional use permit denial. And so I think at every step of the way, we've been more than accommodating, and the appellant has not met the bar for the things that they needed to do to challenge this conditional use permit, and I would be voting against allowing this use. So that's my rationale. The other thing that I wanted to point out is, from my read of both the Planning Commission meeting notes and the staff report, there are inconsistent numbers of votes, and in several cases, there are more votes than there were people recorded as having attended the meeting, and so we need to clean up those records to make sure that those are okay. But That's my thoughts on it.
And just like you stated there, Cindy, was that, unfortunately, the burden of proof, it was on the appellant, and I don't feel that he made it clear as to which of these appeal points he was trying to appeal to. And unfortunately, the municipal code is vague that we have right now written, but the appeal process is very clear and cut and dry, stating that we need to be able to grant an appeal only if one of these 4 criteria are met. And I struggle with this decision just based upon like the existing conditions of the properties in the area, but based upon the facts provided and not being able to seek out further facts, I am in line to stand with you.
The other thing is that once we come in with a comprehensive plan and a waterfront master plan, those were vetted with the public. It was a lengthy process. We involved a lot of people. There was plenty of chance to have input. And there will be some grandfathered uses when you establish your code. And that's been recognized in both documents. So I don't think it's necessarily the rationale for granting this use that somebody down the street might have a similar situation. Any other discussion?
Well, furthermore, I also, you pointed out a really good point about the precedent being set by the one letter that could be granted into this appeal process, and she made it pretty clear that is potentially an intention of hers, further skewing the waterfront master plan that was put into place.
Just one quick addition. The waterfront master plan and the comm plan, as we noted, is a guideline, not a hard and fast rule, which we talked about at length. But make a compelling argument, Member Lagodakis. Your points are well taken. Thank you.
I agree on most of your points, Cindy. He doesn't make a very good case. I do think we have to clean up our own act a bit here after this appeal.
And I actually have had a conversation with planning staff, and they would like to go through that process, but it will be a lengthy process. There's a lot of code that we will have to address at some point. Anything else? So we are voting on the motion to grant the appeal based on criteria 1, that the appellant establishes there was an error in the application of pertinent law. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Jay?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, okay, I think I understand now. That's
Okay,
fine.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so Jay?
No.
Bert?
No.
Cindy?
No.
Eric?
No.
Bob?
No.
Nancy?
No.
And so the appeal is denied. And that is the extent of our agenda. So I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
That's moved by Member Walliot, second by Member Castro, that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.